All right, got a break here, and we can go into our next topic. Which Owen, do you want to go over what you come up with?
I don't know. Do you want to start?
Well, explain what explain the topic.
All right. So now I figure this is a topic we've had for a while now. What are your guys' top 5 favorite video games?
Okay, and we kind of had a discussion on this, and that the top 5, if it happens to involve a franchise, that's fine, because because otherwise some of our list would just be nothing but one franchise listed over and over again. Even though I think I have at least two of the same franchise on my list, but it's two totally different genres on that. Owen, do you want to go and what your number 1 game is down to your number 5 game, or do you want to go backwards?
I usually start from the bottom going up.
Okay, do that. Make sure I do the same.
But just quickly, a couple honorable mentions that didn't make the list. The Star Wars Battlefront franchise, mainly the original Star Wars Battlefront 2. It's an oldie but a goodie. What do you say? I like it.
Yeah.
My other honorable mention is Door Kickers. It's a more recent game. It's essentially like a top-down SWAT simulator.
Okay.
Like breaching and clearing rooms. It's fun. I like it.
Well, the original SWAT game that I actually have right here was a Police Quest SWAT, was a top-down SWAT game. So.
All right. Number 5. On my list, it's my favorite horror game. It's this like obscure indie horror game called Signalis.
What?
It's essentially like It's like Resident Evil, except the horror is more in line with Silent Hill. Except it's mainly like taking place out in space.
So Jason X.
Not more like Jason X, more like cosmic horror shenanigans.
I unironically like Jason X.
No, there's nothing wrong with that.
No, yeah. I mean, it's got like inventory management, conserving items and ammunition. And if any of you, the story is, it's told to you, just not straightforward at all. Also, there's no definitive answer to what's actually going on.
Gosh, it makes me think of Dead Space.
Well, okay, you'll know what's going on, but you don't know how exactly it's going on.
Well, because Dead Space, you kind of come in and it's just like crazy creatures there, and you realize that it's the crew that got turned into those creatures.
Should have watched the anime movie before they went in.
And if you and all the chapters for the game say whatever the girl he's coming to try to find, his girlfriend that's on there, it says that she's dead in the name, like the first letter of the chapter names.
Well, okay, like what's happening is in Signalis, you're not playing as like a person, you're playing as a robot, but it's modeled off a person.
Okay.
So you still have memories of this person, which are conflicting with your current memories. And you're looking for a person for like the first half of the game, but it turns out you were looking for an entirely different person this entire time. Also, reality's sort of warping in the flesh around you, and there may be time travel shenanigans. So...
Huh.
Oh yeah, and there's like 4 different endings, which maybe all happen, maybe they don't.
Alright.
Well, that's enough of that.
So just to be clear, the opposite of KOTOR 2, where there are no endings.
Number 4 is the Stanley Parable. Shifting gears entirely, it's what some people nowadays would consider a walking simulator, because you walk around. It's a very meta game. Like, there's like a narrator, but the narrator's talking about like himself and you. And it's such a hard game to describe, because like the narrator's like telling you where to go, and you can either choose to obey him or disobey him and go an entirely different route.
And then he usually or bashes you when you do. He's like, well, obviously you don't know, left and right, or, here, let me make it easier for you. Let me only give you one door to get into.
And yeah, and just like even in like the original game, there was like 27 different endings, and they released the deluxe edition, which is actually the sequel, but it's also the same game because it's an expansion, but it's also a sequel.
Okay.
Also there's a bucket.
Yes. You can carry the bucket with you.
Okay.
And then it gets into a whole meta narrative about sequels and collectibles, and it's just a pretty good game.
All right.
Number 3, I'd probably say the entire Metal Gear Solid franchise.
Except for Survivor.
Except for Metal Gear Survive, because that's a zombie game, and that wasn't made by Kojima, so it doesn't count. I mean, I've only played a little bit of Metal Gear Solid 1 and Metal Gear Solid 2, and I thought they were good. I love Metal Gear Solid 3 and 4, except that 4, I would probably say the best gameplay, but it also had the hour-long cutscenes, so gameplay was a little staggered. And 5, even though where it switched from the linear to the open world, I still enjoyed it. I haven't beaten it, but so probably 3, 4, and 5 are my favorites. But it's not actually the first 3D stealth franchise, but it was the one that really kicked it off.
Yeah, when the original one for the Nintendo wasn't even a stealth franchise at all. It was just I fell asleep. Not I fell asleep, I feel asleep. Very first line in the game. Okay.
Number 2, I'd say, is probably Skyrim. I'm not a big fan of most RPGs, but Skyrim's the one that really appealed to me. I know it's more of an action RPG, but I've played that for probably hundreds of hours at this point. And I still want to go back and play it some more. I don't know. Is it Bethesda's best? Probably not, but I don't know. It's a game that I like. And it's my favorite out of the franchise, because I've played Oblivion and a little bit of Morrowind, but I don't know. I just couldn't get into it.
All right. And what do we got at number 1?
Number 1, my favorite franchise. It's another stealth game franchise. It's Hitman.
Yes. I don't know.
Because sneaking around people is fun, but why do that when you could just hide in plain sight?
I think just the especially in the new Hitman games, or actually even some of the older ones, the amount of kills that they would give you to be able to do. I mean, you could just go up and shoot them. You could push them off a ledge. You could poison a drink. You could drown them in a toilet. Just the amount of possibilities you can cause other people to go and kill them. There's all sorts of things you could do.
Yeah, like the newest 3 ones just have a ridiculous amount of different ways and things you can do to take out your target. So I like the newest 3 ones, and I also liked Blood Money.
Yeah,
that's what a lot of people consider to be the magnum opus, and it also has a lot of choice. But I don't know. I like it, so I'd probably say that's my favorite franchise. But I've been talking for a while, so I figure on to you.
Well, and I will try to be more brief on my descriptions here. So, my honorable mentions would be, and this one actually I just got just recently, was the Shining Force games. So that would be one of my honorable mentions, because honestly I couldn't tell you anything about them. It's been forever since I played them, but I used to play the crap out of them.
I thought you were just going to say The Shining.
No, the Shining Force. Then, it's kind of a two-for one here, is that, so for Sega you had the Streets of Rage. For Super Nintendo you had Final Fight. One of the games I actually had just picked up not that long ago was Final Fight CD.
That's which for Streets of Fight or Final Rage.
No. So this is the definitive version of the game to get on console, besides if you get the actual game. And then Streets of Rage, I'm obviously for Sega Genesis. So both good games, both in their own right. Oddly enough, I think that's the first Final Fight game I've ever bought for myself. It's the most expensive one you could get, probably. But, so, now going into my actual list. First is going to be the Mega Man franchise, mostly for the NES. I do like Mega Man X, the X games, because I think they still have that general feel. I'd never really played any of the 3D games, so I can't really say anything on that. But my bread and butter would be the 6 original on the NES. Mega Man 2 being the standout. Now, usually Mega Man 2 was kind of where they started their stride with the power-ups, but didn't go quite as crazy with having like all the slide kicks and different things like that. It was just like enough change, but it wasn't so, as an iconic game. And the fact that you beat the end boss with the bubble gun, it's the only weapon that hurts him, because it's the worst weapon in the game. So second would be the Super Star Wars line. So this would include Super Star Wars, Super Empire Strikes Back, and Super Return of the Jedi. All of them pretty much the same game, just telling through the stories. Starting off with a blaster, then you have to deal with a lightsaber. Empire Strikes Back, you get force powers that you can use as well. And also, balls hard. The extremely hard games just to beat without some sort of cheat or cheat codes or unlimited continues or anything like that. But one of the funniest things is that in Super Return of the Jedi, that there was a cheat code that allows you to swap any character in the game, and the Emperor is meant to be fought by Luke Skywalker with a lightsaber. Obviously it doesn't happen in the movies, but in the game that's how you have to beat the Emperors, with a lightsaber. Well, they were never planning for you to use a character with a range attack. So if you switch out, instead of playing with Luke Skywalker, and you play with Wicket can take out the Emperor in like no time, because he can literally just stand on one side of the screen and just peg him with arrows. Funniest thing ever to beat the Emperor with Wicket, but Wicket, I guess his weakness is wooden arrows. Okay, so my number 3 game would be Doom. And this was a kind of a hard one, because I actually grew up playing more of Wolfenstein than Doom. But when I played Doom was the very first game that I played multiplayer on. It was actually Dustin, is who I played a lot of Doom with. Command & Conquer Re, the second one that I played. And while it's not on my list, and I would say it's definitely an honorable mention, I only get 5 spots here, so I had to do what I do. So I actually will say Command & Conquer is another one that would be on my honorable mentions list. But as far as it goes, Doom was the one that I remember playing the most of. I remember that was the first time I've ever seen a game be modded with different characters in the game. My cousin showed me that. He actually had the Energizer Bunny and Beavis and Butthead. And their voices would be in there too, Every time you'd shoot the Energizer or kill the Energizer Bunny, it's like, nothing outlasts the Energizer. And then, Beavis and Butthead was just, as they would roam the halls. But no, just shareware game. Everybody could have it. You could have the first episode without having to pay anything for it. It's just classic in every way. Guns, violence. The first game that I remember that had a lot of gore to it and that kind of stuff. So, but when it comes to time played, the top 2 would be where I had the most time played into any game. My number 2 game is going to be TIE Fighter. Specifically TIE Fighter. And I have played X-Wing. I have played X-Wing vs. TIE Fighter. And I have played X-Wing Alliance. Now, X-Wing Alliance, I think, is the best out of all the games with its mechanics. But I think story-wise, TIE Fighter, with its expansions, is the far superior game. Because X-Wing Alliance too much fits in with the movies and such, so you're not playing like a new experience, really. You're kind of, you blow up the Death Star at the end of X-Wing Alliance.
Yeah.
So it's a different experience. But TIE Fighter, you actually play as an Imperial, and then you kind of realize the Imperials weren't always terrible people. Like, most of their missions were, hey, there's a civil war going on over here, we need to stop that. Now, mind it, their way of stopping it was, capture both leaders and stick them into a room and make them come to an agreement.
Or the occasional, well, if there's no one there, then there's no one left to fight.
But for the most part, you were trying to help people out. You were doing things like, you really felt like, well, no, the rebels are terrible. Here they are. Here they come in trying to blow crap up, trying to make attacks and do all this whatever. And no, you kind of actually felt sympathetic for the Empire at times. You're like, no, these are just people doing their job and trying to make a living and all that. I mean, technically, wasn't Luke going to join the Empire?
Well, whenever he says he's going to go join the Academy, that's what he's talking. That's what he's saying. It's the Imperial Academy.
Yeah. So it's not like he's,
But there's also a deleted scene where he talks to Biggs there towards the beginning, and Biggs tells him he's with the Alliance now. So.
Yeah.
Because it's all like the rebellion. Biggs like kind of we're in the Outer Rim, but like keep that to yourself.
So TIE Fighter, great story, many hours put into it. But I think one that I put even more hours into has been the Metroid franchise. While was not a big fan of the very first Metroid because of not having save states or maps or objectives of any sort, really. I still found it enjoyable to play, but every other game since, and the remakes and everything else, even, like I said, I got a homebrew version, 2 actually homebrew versions back there that I need to play. Super Metroid's my favorite game of all time. Metroid Prime, awesome game. Metroid Prime 2, not quite as awesome, but still I think a good game. I've not played Metroid Prime 3 yet. Metroid Prime 4 is coming out.
Switch 2.
So I may have to get a Switch just to play that. Heck, there's even the other Metroid game that's on Switch.
Metroid Dread, the one that you said you were going to get, but you never did.
Yes. I know, Owen. I know I never got it. But just... And if you hear the phone ringing in the background, I apologize. We didn't shut the door before we started recording here. But no, just everything about it. I think while Super Metroid is my favorite game, Metroid Fusion for the Game Boy Advance is a very close second. It is a fantastic game. Continues on right after Metroid. With that, or Super Metroid. Just awesome franchise. The one thing that always got me is where people are like, well, it's got a woman protagonist. I'm like, who cares? Like, she's, it's a, how do people say it? It's, yes, she's a woman protagonist, but she's also a bounty hunter first. She's all these other things first. She just happens to be, a woman or whatever. And it never made that big of a deal to me because I thought the games were awesome. Gameplay was great. Honestly, for the Super Nintendo, probably the peak of Super Nintendo games. Not saying that other games aren't great, but just of gameplay and all that stuff, that's my number one. All right, Bobbie. What do you got?
The need to write stuff down. The other two have a slight advantage on me here. So it's the reason my phone to record. I got to try to keep all my thoughts organized in my head here. Give me just a second. Okay, so honorable mentions. Since I've not played very many of the Zelda games, I don't want to say the entire franchise, but the ones I have played I liked. So like A Link to the Past and the Minish Cap, I like both of those too. So I definitely give an honorable mention of those. Probably the Mortal Kombat franchise. More specifically, I think Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3, because he has like 50 characters to choose from, and Mortal Kombat 9. That's the one that started the X-ray, seeing the bones break and everything. And so, well, maybe not the greatest technical fighting game, like definitely pretty damn gruesome. So that's what I prefer. So honorable mentions there, and definitely honorable mention to TIE Fighter. I agree with Jim. Great game. So top 5 though. Number 5, I would probably say the Mega Man X franchise, because I do prefer it over the regular franchise. More specifically, possibly ironically, X1 or 2 is probably the best of the Super Nintendo ones. Or that could just be because I've only played 3 a handful of times and never actually on the Super Nintendo, because it's impossible to find cartridge. And then, unless you want to pay a lot of money. In fact, I only ever saw it in a rental store one time. There's a rental store in Jasper. Couch Potato Video. Used to be out by Kmart. But I do also like Mega Man X Command Mission, which is an RPG. And I like the later X games too. Like the story's decent all throughout, but I think 1 and 2 are probably the best. So that's number 5. Number 4, probably go Knights of the Old Republic. I do prefer the second game over the first game, but the first game's really good too. I just wish the second game, like, I'm saying it's one of the 4th best games ever, and the game doesn't have a damn ending. Like, the game's that good that it didn't even need a satisfying ending to still consider it a great game. If it had an ending, it might be number 1 on the spot here. Let's see. Number 3, I would probably go SimCity. Not action-packed by any stretch of the imagination until you turn the disasters on. But, no, I liked them. At least the first 4. I've never played the 5th one, and I have no desire to. It's the constantly online one that, sales just tanked, and then Cities Skylines came out, and everyone's like, oh, this is a much better game. But I haven't played that yet, so I can't say. But I do like the SimCity games, and there's a different experience. Like, the first one's top-down, and it's on the Super Nintendo if you want to play it that way. But then, 2000 goes to the isometric view, and that's what 2000, 3000, and 4 all use. And, you built... Things worked way differently than they worked in the first one. And they kept the system of the second one throughout the 3rd and 4th one, but then they just kept adding more stuff. Like eventually waste management and connections to your neighbors and building a whole region instead of just the one city. And so I like 3 and 4. I like 2 a lot because it was the first one I actually had. I played it well before I actually played the first one. And then I played the first one on the Super Nintendo. But 2, I like a lot of things in 2 that I kind of wish would have carried over. Like, I wish the others had the arcologies that you could build. Because if you need to, seriously dramatically increase your population, one building that holds 50,000 people will do it. Just keep building them. Unfortunately, if you had a certain number of them, they all blast off into space, though. So, yeah, that's a potential downside. But yeah, no, those are fun games, and I've gotten to the point that I can actually go quite a ways into 3 and 4 before I actually need to start borrowing money. So I've actually gotten somewhat good at the games. I'm just at that hump of I have to get past the nuclear age because you have to build nuclear power plants to really power the city. But the whole time you're running that risk of one of them just blowing up and irradiating the city permanently. So was that number 3? Number 2, 1 and 2 it's a hard toss-up for me. I'd probably say the Mario games for number 2. I know it's a cheap cop-out because that's a sprawling franchise, and it's of course it's Mario, but I genuinely like the side-scrolling Mario games, but I also like Mario Kart. Definitely not a super technical racer by any stretch of the imagination, but it's a fun game. Mario Party is a really fun game and a great way to lose your friends.
Yes, it's like the monopoly of the video game industry.
Yes, but as far as the side scrollers, I'm playing Mario Wonder right now, and I really like it. But I think 3 and Super Mario World is kind of the peak. I think if we could just get a game that's kind of a hybrid of the 2, because the 2 of them have great things about them. 3 has just all the weird power-ups you can get, And the overland map or Mario World had, I think, the better overland map setup.
Yeah.
But and graphically, I think it looks better. I mean, obviously it does, but like, I mean, it's not a huge, it's not such a difference that I'd be like, oh, I'll never play Mario 3 again. Like no, it could look like Mario 3, but Mario World does look better. But like I played the game for years before I finally clicked. Like, there's like 3 power-ups in this game. There's the mushroom, the fire flower, and the cape.
Yeah.
The other one's got frog suits and Hammer Brothers suits and Tanuki suits, and then the Super Tanuki suit. I know it's not what it's called.
The P-Wing.
The P-Wing. I mean, it's got all kinds of zany things, and like. And some of the overlay map stuff was kind of, there's like the one level that you start off on the ground, then you eventually like up in the cloud level, Like, I wish they could take some of that and incorporate it into what Mario World had. And I think that would be like your perfect, like, 8 to 16-bit level Mario game. So I kind of wish that would happen. Mario, like I said, Mario Wonder is pretty good. We're back to the zany power-ups. You can turn into an elephant and just like go through and like knock everything out of your way. It's great. And also like suck up water in your trunk and spray people with it.
So they got some Mario Sunshine going in there.
Yeah. And then there's other games in the franchise I like too. Like even though 2 didn't start life as a game in the franchise. You told me that before.
Yeah.
It's something else, but like I play it occasionally. It's fun. I really should actually try to beat the game sometime.
Well, they introduced one thing that other games then later introduced, which was that each one of the characters would have different mechanics for the way that they moved.
Yeah.
That the princess was floaty, the Luigi could jump super high, but he was slippery on surfaces. Toad was the fastest at picking fruit or the vegetables out of the ground because he was lower to the ground.
Yeah, and they introduced the Shy Guys, which do show up in some of the other games. I don't know about many of the other villains though. Like I know Birdo gets used a lot in artwork, but I don't remember seeing Birdo in any of the other games.
Yeah,
I think Birdo's in a couple Mario Party games.
Yeah,
she's also in the in some of the Mario. I want to say in some of the Mario RPG games.
Yeah,
but could be wrong on that. I think maybe even in Super Mario RPG, Birdo makes an appearance.
I'll let you know. I'm playing through the one on the Switch right now. So, but yeah. So number 1, I think for me has to probably be Command and Conquer. Because if we're definitely going based on like hours played, that's probably got to be it. Because I have played the ever-living hell out of that game. And more specifically, I mean, it's the whole franchise, but to me the peak is Red Alert 2. Like it's everything that's good about the first couple games, but better graphics. I just wish the maps were a little bit bigger. The Red Alert franchise has a little bit more going for it, in my opinion, than the mainline franchise. It's definitely more zany, especially like Red Alert 2, because you've got like the Russians, the Americans, and the psychic guy, Yuri. But that's one thing that like I think the Red Alert games have over the mainline game is that the mainline game there's only 2 factions. There's Nod and GDI. Now the third one tried to change that a little bit with like within Nod and GDI there were sub factions, but Red Alert 2, Red Alert and then Red Alert 2 did that first, because Red Alert 2, it's not just the Russians. There's also like the Cubans, the Libyans, Iraq. And the Allies have Germany, France, South Korea, and each of them have their own 1 or 2 units that only they have, so they do all play differently. So, that's a nice feature.
So did Red Alert 2 still have the awesome soundtrack that Red Alert had?
Yeah, Red Alert 2's got a good soundtrack.
Because Red Alert was like the Hell March that they had.
Well, they updated it for the second Red Alert, and I think they updated it again for Red Alert 3, where you fight Sulu now that he's the Emperor of Japan. George Takei, to be clear. Because if you never played them, the Red Alert, the Command and Conquer games all have like live action cutscenes with real actors, and like by the second games in each of them, I do mean real actors, like Michael Biehn, James Earl Jones are in Command and Conquer 2. And then Red Alert 2. I can't think of the guy's name that plays the president, but he's in several things. He's in RoboCop. He's the guy. He's one of the thugs. At the end of the movie, he's the guy controlling the crane, dumps all the crap on RoboCop, then Lois shoots him and blows him up. The guy that plays the general in control of NORAD in War Games is the general in control of NORAD here. Yuri is played by Udo Kier. The main commando woman for the Allies is Kari Wooer. And then the third game, like I said, has Sulu, Tim Curry, who, in a surprise move, totally double crosses you before the end of the game.
And goes to space.
Yes, the one place capitalism has not reached, comrade. Space.
And then what? J.K. Simmons is the president?
I think so, yeah. Yeah, he's the president for the Americans. And the guy that played the devil in Constantine was also the cosmonaut in Armageddon. He's the Russian scientist that tells you about the time machine, so you go back in time and take out Einstein. Like by Red Alert 3, the timeline is completely screwed up because Einstein's the one that goes back and takes out Hitler in Red Alert, and then you send Yuri back in time at the end of Red Alert 2 to the Cretaceous period. He finds out his powers don't work on dinosaurs the hard way. And then in Red Alert 3, you go back and take out Einstein, which means now you don't have nuclear weapons, but Japan, for some reason, has giant mecha robots, and Sulu's the emperor, and so he's attacking you now. And the guy that was the premier is the guy who plays the main villain in Wishmaster, the Djinn. Alexis Desanoff, I think's his name. But yeah, so like real actual actors, you know.
Yeah. Now, I'd say Command & Conquer Red Alert, I think, was the first game that me and you played online. And I say online, that was
dial up.
I'm going to dial your computer. Hold on a second. Make sure your computer's set to receive.
Yeah, I'd have to double check, but they updated Command & Conquer and Red Alert 1, both of them, to modern graphics. And I think they left in LAN support, if I remember right.
Well, they should. They should. But, and understand, obviously, our lists are nothing but our opinions. Doesn't mean anything about any games that, other people may like or not. Just things that we had gravitated towards. And,
yeah.
I could still add another 10 to the list because, obviously...
Oh, yeah, I was trying to figure out how to squeeze Resident Evil in there. It just wasn't going to happen, but
Well, yeah, no, Resident Evil. Resident Evil is one of the first games I remember playing that scared the crap out of me. And you look at the graphics now, and you're like, why was I scared of this? Because I think of the very first Resident Evil game, the very first scene where you see the zombie eating the guy, and it turns around and looks at you. By today's standards, it looks like a paper mache,
Well, part of that's the Texas Chainsaw Massacre effect. Have you ever actually seen the Texas Chainsaw Massacre? Okay, well, if you ever do, everyone's like, oh, it's such a gruesome, scary movie. If you can actually, objectively watch it, no, it's not. Almost every awful thing that happens up here, not on the screen. It cuts away at just the right moment. You know what's going to happen. You see all the parts, but, it plays out up here, not on the screen. And your brain makes it way worse than whatever you're going to see on screen. So that's why, monster movies, that's why a lot of them feel like they're great movies for the first 2/3 of the movie, because you don't see the monster. You get brief glimpses and your brain's filling in the holes and you're creating this this absolute grotesque monstrosity, and then it it's like Schrodinger's cat. At some point it has to collapse down into reality, and it's one or the other, and it's a fixed thing at that point. And so whatever's shown will never live up to what you were imagining.
That's actually just sometimes do a negative thing, because I think of the 2014 Godzilla movie. It's you know what? I just want to see Godzilla at some point in this movie. I see a foot here, a tail here, a brief glimpse of lightning, and you can see it. And it's I'd like to see Godzilla in my Godzilla movie at some point. I kind of have a different opinion on it. which I think they made the corrections in the next, X amount of Godzilla movies, which I still haven't seen the Godzilla X Con.
No, I haven't seen that one yet either.
I started watching it, got pulled away, and Grant watched it, so I did not get to watch it. So,
Yeah, well, I mean, they're stuck between a rock and a hard place because we all know what Godzilla looks like. We've seen the other movies, but what about a 10-year-old that hasn't?
yeah.
They've got to consider that. Plus, I mean, obviously, they're saving money on effect shots.
Yes.
Hell, I was surprised he actually had the atomic death breath by the end of the movie. But once he did, once you hear the thing powering up, and I was like, finally, at last, this is it. Here it comes. If it doesn't, I'm walking out. And I saw the spikes charging up, and I was like, yeah, here we go. The money shot, if you will.
I mean, that's what most dinosaur lizard things do, so.
Yeah.
All right, well.
Thank you for watching. This has been a Geek Cabal video, Echoes of a Whisper. This has been a clip from one of our podcasts. The link to the actual podcast this is from is in the description of the video if you want to see the entire thing, which we obviously encourage you to do. But otherwise, if you enjoyed what you saw, a thumbs up is always appreciated. Subscriptions and all the rest is definitely appreciated. Comments, as always. But just in general, thank you for watching. Hope you liked it. And check out the other videos we have here on the channel. See you later.